Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Illuminations with Tiina and Fi. I'm Fi.
And hi there, it's Tiina here.
And today we're going to explore a quote that's particularly had quite a lot of resonance for me. And it's interesting because in thinking about our discoveries today, I discovered that this quote is not what I thought it was. So part of me had to come to terms with that, a little bit of grief and loss, but moving on. So this is the quote that is famous apparently because it keeps getting misquoted as part of Nelson Mandela's 1994 inaugural speech, but actually it's not from his speech. This quote is actually from a book by a woman called Marianne Williamson called The Return of Love. I'll just check. A Return to Love in 1992. And the quote starts with probably the four lines that resonated for me, which I'm going to just say. And I can read them because they're above my desk all the time. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And we ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? And actually, who are you not to be? Now, this quote for me, I'm sure you remember, Tiina, when we first talked about it, had quite a bit of resonance because it took me a long time of working with my business coach, mentioned Liz Plumtree, now Liz Jones, of discovering that a lot of the limited beliefs and the holding back I had around developing my business was not a fear of failure at all, but a fear of success. And this was quite a light bulb moment for myself, and it's taken me quite a few years to really discover what's underneath that for me and where that has come from. And I know I've shared it with you, Tiina, and we've shared it together, and I've shared it with a lot of my clients, and sometimes it resonates and sometimes it isn't quite the right time to resonate. So I just wondered, Tiina, for you, any resonance about that quote that you had?
Yes, but I think, well, if I just kind of add to your story there, because I actually heard it first time from you, I think.
Okay.
Because you resonated so much with it, and you kept quoting it again and again, and then we talked about your fear of success and stuff like that. So I think my resonance to it came via you. And I think for me, when you started talking about fear of success, I think I probably reacted the same way as many other people react to the whole thing of like, how can you fear something that's regarded as positive? You know, success is so positive. How can you be fearful of that? So people can understand the fear of failure very well because if failure is negative, success is positive. So I think at first I reacted to it like that. Even though, of course, in the quote, it's very, very powerful how it's written. But when we were kind of talking about fear of success, that was my kind of reaction. And then I started thinking about it. And then once you kind of start thinking about it and thinking about your own life, you kind of go, interesting. Actually, there really is something in there. And I think Gay Hendricks, writes so well about this, about the upper limit problem. Do you call it the problem? Upper limiting yourself.
Upper limiting, yeah.
Yeah. So you start noticing that, life is good, life is brilliant, things are going well, and then boom, you put a stop to that. You don't kind of enter there anymore. So yeah, those are the kind of thoughts that kind of came from it in the beginning and where I'm at with it now.
Yeah, and for me, it's you're right. Gay Hendricks bizarrely sprung into my mind when we were thinking, and I was thinking about chatting about this today. And it's really interesting because for me, this is quite a challenge because I feel slightly disloyal But a lot of this comes from my cultural background of my family, not necessarily my immediate family, but joined into that and connected in. And I think it might be part of English culture. I'll leave that. I come from a mainly Irish background, first generation. So the idea that, you know, people admire success to a certain point, but beyond that, it's like, and it's the Brené Brown, you know, you're a bit too big for your britches.
Yeah.
And actually, I knew something had resonated, and I found in David Hamilton a little bit about this. And he said, you know, he was talking about the movie The Help, you know, when the nanny keeps getting the child to say, I'm important, I'm valuable, and we want our children to have confidence. But there's this fine line between confidence and arrogance. And I remember having a discussion about this with a friend about 12 years ago, not really understanding it. But I feel I kind of get it a bit now. You know, it's the fear of what you might lose by letting your light out and by shining and becoming successful. And I have learned to be very humble about what I've ever achieved, to the point of actually it getting quite the other way, I think. What's that word? Ingratiating. And so to step out of the shadow and bring my light has been quite a big step because of my cultural influences. And it's not that people have been, it's not negative, it's just I come from a culture where survival has been very important, you know, so, you know, just living and working hard is enough. And so to shine in any way, you can be a little bit, seen a bit too big for your britches. It's not comfortable.
I don't think it's, I think it goes through in many cultures. I mean, in Sweden, we have the same thing. It's called jantelagen. And it's, it's the rule about don't ever think you're anything. You're not better than anyone, you know.
Okay.
And I think it's been really ingrained in us. And I think most cultures have some similar kind of thing. But I think now that we're noticing a little bit of a difference in the younger generation in Sweden, that it's not as ingrained in them anymore, but it's still a struggle for many, I think. And I think there's a line. I need to just check. In that quote, it says, "There is nothing enlightened about shrinking, so that other people will not feel insecure around you." And I think that's a really important one. And I was thinking about you as well when I was reading that line, because one, it's about not thinking too highly about yourself. The other thing is being judged by other people. You know, this thing about other people, so people will not feel insecure around you. And then, hence, if they do, the judging starts. You know, who does she think she is? Look at her.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, because actually you're right, it's not, because I had to work through, so when I become successful, or as I become successful, right language, you know, what can I lose? And I can, you know, lose connection with some people maybe, but you're right, it is that fear of judgment. You make yourself, if you stay safe and stay within the comfort zone, you keep below the wire. I've learned within my family, although I have actually really broken out a lot in all sorts of ways. But bizarrely, the ways I've done it is through misbehaviour as opposed to through success. You know, I feel safe to be pushing boundaries in a whole load of other ways around my personal life. But as part of work, it's like, oh no, you know, no. And so keep that quiet. But the judgment, it's the judgment.
Yeah, we're fearful of that one.
And actually, I know. And actually, some of my clients that I work with, some genuinely do have a fear of failure. That is something we have to work through, and that is down to, you know, the I can't cope drive. But it's true, you know, what David Howell talks about is right, and supported by David James Lees, is the idea of I'm not enough. You know, you then get this belief of I'm not enough, and that keeps you also safe. So if you're not enough, then you just stay where you are because you're not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose this is where, bizarrely coming into my head, is Susan Jeffers, and I love that concept. And that was probably a big changing point for me, was learning to just gently stretch my comfort zone. And I've realised that most of my life, that's what I've done. I've gradually stretched it. I've never been one to suddenly leap out and run over there. I've gradually stretched it. And so I love that concept. It's not being outside your comfort zone, it's just stretching it.
Yeah.
But professionally, that's the stretch of the last year, definitely. Yeah.
I think also it's almost nicer to talk about it as a stretch, because when you ask people to, you have to get out of your comfort zone, that's a big thing. But if you ask people to stretch it, it's a bit softer and nicer, isn't it? And at the same time, you don't then think that you have to go outside every time. It's that you have stretched your comfort zone to be bigger. Like, very lovely. But I think that... go ahead.
No, sorry, Tina, you go. I've done quite a lot of talking today.
But you're kind. You go. No, you go. I was going to say, I think it's possible to have fear of failure and a fear of success. I think I carry both.
Okay.
And I was actually, my daughter went to her last swimming class this week. And I was watching her, and they went into the big pool, and they didn't have any kind of support things on them, any kind of, what do they call in English?
Armbands.
Yeah, exactly, stuff like that. So they took them all off in the big pool. And I was looking at her, and I was so proud, and I was tears in my eyes, and I thought, my life is so good. My life is brilliant. And I just really felt it, and that lovely, lovely feeling in my body, like, wow, amazing. And then I thought, this is interesting, Tina. Let's see what happens later on in the evening. And I was thinking about the Hendrix upper limiting yourself. So, let's just observe now. And as expected, by the evening, there was like, okay, I need to sabotage something. I need to find something that isn't good in my life now. And it was quite interesting because I know about it now, the upper limiting, and being aware of it, I could kind of smile about it and go, okay, Tina, come on, just let it go now. You know what you're doing. Kind of. So it was very clear that I was kind of going, no, life can't be this good. Life can't feel this good. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's true. I happened to watch something by Gay Hendricks, actually. I've been doing a lot of painting and decorating this week, and I've been TED talking like manic and listening to Gay Hendricks. So anybody who would inspire me. I love painting, very mindful, but it's nice to have stuff to listen to. And he talks about this, you're right, this upper limiting, and I've forgotten about it because this book was recommended to me by Marta from the Freedom Experiment, and because I wrote to her saying I was finding I was getting barriers in the way, and she took the time to write back and say, get the book The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. So I did. And, it so resonated, and it was probably all part of that nudging around of me beginning to, you're right, understand why. Because when you understand why, and he says do it with smiles and humour, notice it with curiosity and without judgment, that these thoughts are coming in. And it is interesting because, having bliss and contentment as part of your life is something I'm really embracing and bringing in. And then, of course, there is this upper limiting whole idea about keeping you out of that zone of genius where it's, effortless effort. So many of my clients have got to that point where it's effortless effort, and in the word of David Jones Lees, it's the wee woo way or the woo wee way. I'll never get it right, but it's that kind of complete balance. You're just in the right place, doing the right thing, and what I do now feels like that. So it's making sure that I stay here, is really important. He talks about a mantra. Do you remember the mantra? I've forgotten about the mantra.
No, I can't remember that one.
Yeah, I'll read it to you, see what you think. I did write it down because I remember being very touched by this mantra. It says, I expand in abundance, success and love every day as I inspire those around me to do the same. And that's by Gay Hendricks. That's the mantra to help you keep and stay and move into that zone of genius, so you stop this upper limiting. But also what was very interesting was this whole fear of, you know, powerful beyond measure, you know, can come out in a whole variety of ways. And he says, you know, worry, judgment.
Yeah.
He says physical ailments, and we know, you know, I've had a challenge with blood pressure, and he says they can all be brought in to make sure you stay, you know, physically also away out of your zone of genius, which is a little bit, that's big head stuff to get around, you know, but quite interesting and probably quite true, what we do to keep ourselves safe. Yes, and I love that last bit because it's the last bit really, look, you know, and as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same.
I love that. I love that bit.
Yeah. You know, I've just been to a breakfast meeting this morning with Brighton Chamber of Commerce, and I find them a little bit overwhelming, being more naturally introverted. And I happened to sit with a fantastic, a man and a woman, both working in a therapy place around the corner from me. And they were really inspirational, but it's really lovely. We were all inspired by each other. And the guy said to me, you know, because I was talking about Action for Happiness and Compassionate City Brighton, and I was just being, you know, talking about what I love and what I love doing. And he said, you know, he said that, you know, gosh, wow, this is inspiring. I want to get involved. And I suppose that's it, isn't it? And even saying that, I'm struggling with this. I know you know I am, because that feels a bit like blowholing, as we used to say in my family. But actually it was true. By allowing my light to shine, you know, he was very touched and, you know, wants to himself look at other ways of being inspired, you know, through groups and communities to hang out with. So do you know in your lifetime or recently, as you've let your light shine, that you unconsciously allow someone else to let their light shine?
Well, I think that's kind of, in a way, what we do in our work, isn't it? As you know, when I call it coaching people, and you're a light worker and you work with people. And I think organically in that work, we kind of do it. And it's not the, you know, going, wow, look at, you know, it's the subtleness, the gentleness around it, you know. Yeah. For me, it's like that. It doesn't have to be a bright spotlight shining, you know.
Yeah.
It can be a quiet light, and that light can be as strong, even if it's not as, you know, blindingly bright. For me, I think about it like that. Yeah. Anyway, should we throw the question out? For me, it was. I was thinking, how do you out there listening limit yourself? You know, when you're noticing that life is really good and you're doing brilliantly, what kind of things happens to you? Do you think that's a fair question?
I think that's marvellous. Get people to start, because once you recognise your upper limiting behaviours, you know, I have a friend who uses worry, and we were reading a bit about worry and absolutely rolling around because it's so funny. You know, once you realise these behaviours, you start to go, oh my goodness, this is so obvious, you know.
Yeah.
I think, getting people to think about what they use, do, are, be. You know, Gay Hendricks says he hasn't had a cold for 12 years. You know, he talks like you did to your behaviours and recognises them as not. So, yeah, I think that's great. What do people use, as upper limiting? If things are going well, if life's all right, if their light is shining and they're beginning to be and recognise that they're powerful beyond measure. Do you know what? I'll just quickly cut in. I know a friend of mine told me that the chances of us being born literally is something like 4 billion to 1 miracle with it's a TED talk he watched. It's like a miracle, and so therefore we are so wonderful, powerful beyond measure. You know, even as a being alive. So yeah, what do people do to upper limit that? Love it.
I think it's 100 trillion feet.
It's crazy. Yeah.
It's crazy. Anyway, good, wonderful, lovely to chat to you again about important stuff.
You too, Tiina. Have a good day.
You too. I'll see you later.
Bye now.
Bye.